It's the wonderful thing about movies. The wonderful thing about movies is that it's a suspension of disbelief. We're talking about a guy who can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes. And so there are ways of doing it, but telling these stories is about your enjoyment. It's about my enjoyment. It's about enjoyment for the viewer. And so we could spend 4 hours of movie explaining why and how Clark comes back. But is that what you want to see? No, right. I mean, if I had billions and billions and billions of dollars and I could make 6 movies a year, all based on Superman, then yeah, we can go through that. It'd be like Game of Thrones. Trilogy. Can I borrow some money?
This one's gone off, is it?
Hello?
Hello? There we go.
Where's the money? Turn it off.
Yeah, that's what my mother said. When I have a nice conversation, don't mention politics or money. So, yeah, we will work something out, absolutely. But it's a matter of making it interesting for you guys. We could spend an entire movie on it, but we're not going to, because there's more Superman stories.
Yeah, plenty to come.
What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on the DC Extended Universe and Man of Steel 2. If you are new to the channel, I do DC and Marvel videos all week long. So like you would have heard in the clip before, Henry Cavill has basically confirmed Man of Steel 2 is in the works and they're just looking for the right story before they can make the movie, which is very interesting. We recently had the newest DCEU slate and a lot of people were disappointed because Man of Steel wasn't on the list. Everyone wants the Man of Steel 2 movie. It's one of the most anticipated movies out there. So it's very interesting at Ace Comic Con, Henry Cavill has been promoting it massively, talking about the Superman character. So it's so clear that we will be getting another Superman movie within the next couple of years. Most likely won't be before 2020 at earliest, or what I thought. So recently there's been a lot of news in the DC world. So director Matthew Vaughn wants to save DC movies and he's confirmed he's in talks for a few things, which is quite interesting. So if you don't know who he is, he did a lot of the kind of X-Men stuff. So he says this: so when I did the X-Men, there was, you know, a pretty low bar. X-Men 3, no offense, was not a fantastic piece of work. Everyone said it's much more fun saving and reinventing something. I'd been more intimate trying to do a new Guardian of the Galaxy, for example. So he's basically saying that he likes to work on projects that are failing. Although Man of Steel didn't fail, it would be kind of interesting to get a different director's take on the same concept of the movie, because everyone knows that originally he was supposed to be directing Man of Steel 1 before obviously Zack Snyder took over the DCEU and all that kind of thing. So it's very interesting. So in another story, during a podcast, Matthew Vaughn also spoke about the possibility of directing Man of Steel 2. He said this: he and I are massive Superman fans. I mean, we worship Richard Donner. We love the Christopher Reeves movie. He actually phoned me up a few months ago and he said, hey, listen, DC, they're very interested in you doing Man of Steel 2. Do you want me to come in? And I was like, I'm exclusive to Netflix for a few years. We can't even have that conversation. And he was like, oh man, what's the chance of this? And then he kind of drifted away and he's attached himself to a couple of things and all that. You know, so it's one of those things that I might mean if someone phones Matthew up and offers him enough money, it could change all tomorrow. So it's kind of interesting. And then it did go on to say, interesting enough, Miller also disclosed that he and Vaughn had also pitched a Superman trilogy back in 2008, 5 years before Man of Steel actually came out. So that's kind of interesting. And it said it was actually a massive uplifting, hopeful thing. There's no point doing Superman unless you feel good. You should walk out of Superman just feeling like $1 million. You should feel great after a Superman film. The movie itself was going to be big, fun, epic, but Superman got to be a laugh as well. So it's very interesting that someone who is such a massive DC fanboy, is rumoredly in talks to save the DCEU, even though it doesn't actually need saving. It is interesting that a really decent director such as Matthew Vaughn is in talks, with rumoredly working on some other projects. Obviously, he's worked on Kick-Ass 2, Fantastic Four, I Am Pilgrim, and then the X-Men movies. So I'd be happy if he was to direct it, though personally I think Zack Snyder should direct Man of Steel 2, but I know it's not going to happen. But the fact that it says he's working on a bunch of DC movies could infer that really he could be directing the Flashpoint movie as well. Also at the same convention, Ace Comic-Con, Ezra Miller playing The Flash also confirmed that the Flashpoint movie is coming very soon. Although he's been saying that for such a long time, so it's very hard to kind of understand what he means very soon. We had the news that the Flashpoint movie is coming out in 2019 alongside Shazam and everything. But if that is true, they're going to have to start filming next year, because it's 2018 next year, and if it's going to come out at the end of 2019, it's going to need at least 1 year in post-production. So what's interesting, in that same interview, Henry was asked about who he would like to fight, who he'd like as villains, and he brought up Darkseid, which was very interesting, seeing as we all know Darkseid was in Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League movie, and he also brought up Brainiac. But then what I really like about Henry is he knows his stuff. He brought up a lot of kind of minor characters, minor villains. I just think he's the perfect Superman because he knows his stuff. He's not being fake. He reads the Superman comics and he always recites pretty big things from the comic books. So I think whatever kind of version of Man of Steel we get, a lot of people will call it Man of Tomorrow. I think it would be the perfect time to introduce Supergirl, as rumoredly she actually was in kind of Man of Steel 1 in that pod, I guess you could say technically. So guys, who do you want to direct Man of Steel 2? And who do you think the villain for Man of Steel 2 should be? And also, who do you want to direct the Flashpoint movie? Anyway guys, like I said at the start of the video, I do videos like this all week long, DC Marvel related. So if you want to subscribe, that would be awesome. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you would. Join that notification squad down below to join the team Warstu and the Warheads notification squad. And we will catch you in another video guys very soon. Catch you later.